Well, don't just sit there, go do something. But don't worry about counting your steps because it might just be a waste of your time. Let's welcome back Dr. Elizabeth Rodgers, Harvard-trained epidemiologist and health and longevity doctor. Welcome back.
Thank you so much, Layla.
What is up with this newfangled 10,000 steps and counting your steps on your watch and your phone and the this and the that? I mean, is it worth it?
I love this question. I love this because how this all came up for me, because I'm a physical activity researcher, this is one of my research areas of expertise. I've actually worked on studies that reference the 10,000 daily step recommendation. So for years, I never questioned it. And I, along with a lot of my prior research patients and participants, engaged in following along with this guideline.
I mean, it sounds healthy.
It does. But a couple of weeks ago, in a recent guest interview on my podcast, I had a woman talking about the topic of healthy movement. So she happened to mention in our conversation that the 10,000 daily step recommendation isn't based in science. So in that moment,
it's
I thought,
a farce.
That's it. And I feel strongly that given the wide range of health information available to us, that part of my role as a leader is to help everyone understand what health information you can trust and what's right for you.
So what's a good balance then? Because if it's not 10,000, then what is it? And how did we arrive at the number 10,000?
I'm so glad you asked. I was hoping I'd get to tell you the story. So the 10,000 step count, get ready for this, this is so good, comes from, its origins are in a Japanese marketing campaign. In 1965.
From 1965?
Yes, in 1965, a Japanese company created a device that's literal translation is 10,000 steps meter. And that number then became so ingrained in people's health consciousness that all these years later, researchers decided, well, let's see if there's any scientific validity to this number. So researchers, one of my favorite epidemiologists out of Harvard, Dr. Ayman Lee, studied over 16,000 women between the ages of 62 and 101 and found that 4,400 steps a day actually was related to a 41% reduction in mortality or death rate.
That's incredible.
Which is huge. Now, this study did have a lot of limitations. They did, because it was first done in women only, and it did look at just death rate as an outcome, nothing else health related.
Okay.
However, more recent studies have been done, including with a more generalized population, with men and women, and they have found that 7,000 steps seems to be a great number to aim for.
What does that look like in our day-to-day? Because I don't count steps myself. I refuse to count steps. I don't want to be beholden to a number. If I feel like I'm being active,
exactly,
just let me live in that bliss.
And honestly, that's one of, I think, the most beautiful perspectives you could take on it. And I would recommend that to anyone rather than focusing on, oh, I better make sure I get my steps in.
It's stressful.
It is. And I think what's most important is that everyone focus on just limiting your sedentary behavior, because being sedentary is now considered the new smoking. It's one of the biggest health risk factors that is honestly putting you at risk for essentially every health issue.
That's a big statement. That's a huge, when we're talking about smoking versus just sitting still and not smoking, and to compare the two. It's a huge statement. Yeah, it is. Because in my business, I've worked with a lot of people who literally their business is to be sedentary. They don't ever get up from their chair for 8 hours during the day.
And now that is where I think we can give some great suggestions to people. So think about this. Sedentary behavior is defined as 2,700 steps per day or less. Okay. So, and research shows that we don't need to be going out for these elongated, rigorous, very difficult and challenging exercise routines. Research shows that first, walking is one of the best and healthiest forms of exercise, just walking. And two, that small bouts of activity are very beneficial for your health. Small bouts, by that I mean just breaking up your sedentary behavior with a 5 to 10 minute movement.
And this could be like gardening, it could be taking the trash to the street.
Yes, it could literally just be getting out of the seat and doing movement around the house. Go clean the shower, make your bed, fold some laundry, anything to just break up that time. And that, I think, is a really great goal to have.
And what about for people who are they have to be in either a wheelchair or something like that. Does it work the same way if they're using their arms and their upper body?
Absolutely, okay. Absolutely. Yeah. I love that because it's important that we always keep in mind accessibility.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Injure yourself or something. You know, there's just always something that you can do. And then when you really can't be very active, eating healthfully is also just paramount, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think other than knowing that walking is such a healthy and safe form of exercise, knowing that whatever kind of movement feels good to you and your body is what you should do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have wonderful information, Dr. Rodgers.
You
also have a podcast that you had mentioned, so where can people go to find out more?
The podcast is called The Bridge, a transformational health podcast with yours truly. You can find it on Apple Podcasts or anywhere that you listen to podcasts.
It's on the screen. Thank you so much. We're going to see you soon.
Thank you.
We're back after this.